Hey John, so we've got more essays from you. That's great. It looks like we're wrapping up your essay correction package. So let's take a look at what you did today. The first one is the map. Let's see how you answered this. The layout of an island before and after the development is shown in the picture. Okay, it's fine. I mean, typically there's a pretty standard expression for how to do this. It's just the illustration provides information regarding an island prior to and after development. I mean, it's just a pretty standard way of saying that, okay? Or the map provided or gives information regarding, etc., etc. Okay, but what you said is fine. Okay, firstly, there were 4 forested areas before the development, 2 of which, here you want which, grammatically this is more correct, 2 of which were replaced by the buildings for accommodation. Okay, let's see. Area next to the beach and down the coast. Well, that's a little vague. Because you have to remember that you're describing this to somebody who theoretically doesn't have it in front of them. So tell me that the beach is on the west coast of the island and where the other down the coast, what that means, okay? All right, so at the same time, a new lake was built on the right side of the island, right next to the bay. While there was no accommodation before the development, 3 main buildings were newly constructed in the middle of the island, connecting smaller bungalows on sides. Okay. Secondly, the infrastructure was built. There was not only a footpath built connecting the accommodation main buildings and the beach, but also a vehicle track was laid from the newly constructed pier to the main building and bungalows by the lake. Additionally, the pier allowed access, no and here, access for boats. While there was no development before, the island was extensively developed for commercial purposes, allowing numerous leisure activities for its visitors. Okay. You got into a lot of detail, but there were some pieces of detail that I wanted that I didn't hear. I would have liked to have heard that this kind of centrally located accommodation was developed in a circular fashion with a footpath running through it. I think that in your version you can tell what these 3 buildings are. In my version I certainly cannot. So maybe you could have added that information. It was fine. This part was a little confusing for me. I think one good way to do this is to just discuss what the before looked like, okay, in its own paragraph. And there's really not a lot to say here, obviously. And then you could have written your details in a second paragraph. Having said that, I do like the way you divided it. So in other words, you talked about the things that were constructed and then you talked about infrastructure. So that was interesting. But you could have also separated it a little further. It's fine. It's a nice job overall, really. Obviously here we're just looking at the details that take it from a high score to a higher score. So it's not really a huge issue. But I do just want to point out those things to you. Okay, so it's well done. You covered all the main points, so that's fine. All right, let's look at the next one. Green energy. Okay. Energy, threat to energy security, or a wonderful thing for the environment and cost. Let's see. As green energy, with no the, becomes, S, more common and affordable throughout the world, the issue of whether it is better for the environment and reduces cost or happens to be a threat to the energy security has been a debatable topic. Personally, I firmly believe that environmental and monetary benefits are quite reasonable. Although there are some issues related to supplies of renewable energy, it can hardly be considered as a security threat. It's one thing, energy, so it, not they. Firstly, there are some issues with green energy, no the necessary, that could be considered as a threat to energy security. This is mainly because renewable energy requires certain weather conditions. For example, a recent study by the UK government showed that Local windmills produce energy only for 16 hours a day. Therefore, energy generated from the wind would have to be combined with energy from additional sustainable sources, such as sunlight or tides, to fully cover the demand throughout the day. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. It's well developed. Fine. I don't really have anything to comment about that. Moving on. Secondly, there is ample evidence that green energy, again, know that please, is environmentally friendly and reduces costs. The reason behind this is twofold. Green energy produces no carbon dioxide. Do write the word out if you can, okay? Which is the gas that contributes to global warming, and sources of renewable energy are free, thus the costs are limited to investment and maintenance only. Okay, for instance, empirical research by Oxford University proved that investment costs in solar panels for an average household are repaid by power savings in 7 years. Therefore, the costs are covered in the long term and no emissions of CO2 are involved. Let's see. Okay, all right, fine. Okay, yes, appropriate, fine. To sum up, from the examples and arguments given, I strongly believe that green energy is essential for sustainable environment, for a sustainable right here, as well as for long-term financial benefits. On the other hand, technological development is required before, where am I? Here I am. Before the green energy can be used as a sole source of power. All right, I wouldn't have written here, on the other hand. It sounds like on the whole you support green energy. So I wouldn't have written here on the other hand, especially as your last sentence. Remember, this is what the reader is going to kind of take away from your essay. So what you could have said is, it is predicted that further technological development is required before it can be used as a sole source of power. That would have been fine. That kind of leaves us with a positive sort of message that, you know, this is great, we just need to invest in it and it'll be great in the future, okay? So that's probably what I would have done here instead. You've done a nice job, though, overall. I like both of your essays quite a bit. I've already explained to you some areas about task 1 that needed a little work. There's not a lot about task 2 that needs a lot of work. You've done a nice job here, okay? So, Jan, I don't know when your exam is. I don't remember if you had written it in any of your previous emails, but I would say that I would like to see more essays from you. Okay, it's really a good idea to continue practicing your writing right up to your exam. Okay, I would hate for you to lose any of the benefits you've gained and the things that you've learned from a lack of practice. So my recommendation is to continue with essay corrections right up to your exam. Okay, I'm sure that we can arrange to have another package of essays sent to you. So think about it. I hope I get to see more of your essays in the very near future. Whatever you decide, however, good luck. You've done a great job, and I hope to see more of your writing very soon. Keep us informed. Thanks.